Good morning and welcome to Qdabra's weekly webinar. This is Patrick, and today I'm very happy to be with Kaoru Okumura, one of our technical project managers here, and we're going to be talking about dashboards again. Last week we talked about dashboard part 1, and we showed you how to create a form that can be used to get quick access to data that you need to act on. And this week we're talking about how to look at historical data, where a form is great for maybe a to-do list or the items that you need to act on immediately. Power BI is better for historical data because you can do graphical visualizations using charts, and it's just much better at giving you more options and more power, Power BI. So before we get started, I want to do a quick poll, and we're going to launch this. I want to thank you all for being here. It's great to see so many familiar faces. Just a really quick poll to get us going. I want to kind of get a sense of how many of you are currently using Power BI, and we'll let this run for a couple more seconds here. It looks like most of you, looks like about 87%, now it's 75% have no Power BI experience. So it's great to have you here. This is kind of an intermediate level, like a 200 level webinar on Power BI, but it's going to be great for you, for anyone who hasn't had experience with it before as well. So before we get started, I just want to quickly switch to show you what we did last week. So last week we presented this support dashboard. This is an example of a form that you can build that is responsive, it looks good, and it shows us currently our active support tickets. And we did a webinar on this, and of course we taped it and put it up on YouTube, and you can download the video here, and also the contents. So the package of contents includes the PowerPoint presentation and other things, and that's all free, and you can just go to our website to download that. So let's switch back to I want to introduce Kaoru Okumura, and Kaoru, thanks for doing the webinar this week.
Thank you very much for the introduction. It's so great to have another webinar on Power BI. So, as today's agenda, we'd like to talk about the reason of having Power BI dashboard, and also I will mention about two major connectivity modes, import and direct query. You wonder which one I shall use when you first try the Power BI SQL. And in addition to that, I'd like to add some tips, especially how to share Power BI report within your organization. We can easily do that in SharePoint Modern or Classic page. And a few more tips will be included.
So, quick question, Kaoru,
yes.
On this. The SQL data connectivity mode, could we explain that for people? I think some people may not be familiar with what that means.
Yeah, I will. In fact, I have one chart there in the demo.
Okay,
so there are
great.
two types. And now here is a snapshot. When you set the SQL service database, you have to select import or direct query. So you may wonder, what is this? When you first try, and we will cover this in this seminar.
Great, thank you.
Okay, so maybe we can just go and see what kind of dashboard we created. So we are using the same sample, which is customer support dashboard. The data is already in our SQL. So, and this is in more than a SharePoint page. This part is traditional dashboard. We have some summary information, and we have links so that we can open. In addition to that, in the case of Power BI, it is really easy to add a kind of statistic, like who has how many, and also the top right is new one that Patrick mentioned about history. Because we have SQL in background, we can handle a lot of data. So, in fact, this shows how many days we took to resolve the issue once that is reported. And for example, I can show average, mean, and the maximum days. And here is the scope of the data. So I can now I'm showing this quarter, but we can take a look at really long period with a lot of data here. And also we can just filter with certain one using dynamic filtering or dynamic, how to say, scoping. So this is the dashboard we are doing demo today. So I'm back to the slide, and now you can see Power BI feature helps dashboard like a rich visualization, dynamic filtering, and also I like performance, especially just to create the basic dashboard does not take me just an hour or a few hours. So it's good. And also loading time is also good enough. But at the same time, there is some restriction. For example, my ticket that use a cell and our forms viewer dashboard does not fit to Power BI model if you want to share the dashboard with many people.
When you say my ticket, Kyoto, what does that mean? Does that mean
assigned to me?
I see, right?
Because in Power BI, I'm going to publish it, which means that it's a kind of anonymous.
Got it.
Yes.
Got it. So you can't actually filter on the user because you can't use the, if you use the user's mail or the user's I guess profile automatically, then it would require another license, right?
That's right. We require Power BI at least pro account for each viewer.
So to work around that limitation and to enable people to see your report without having to buy licenses for them, you can use this special publish mode that you're going to talk about, right?
Yes, with publish mode we are talking about, it's easy and you do not need pro license, but just one limitation is I cannot show your ticket only.
Got it. Great, okay.
Okay, so that's the introduction, and I am going to start the demonstration. And today I prefer to start from the scratch by Power BI, and I'm going to open the Power BI desktop here. Starting initializing Power BI in another screen now. Yes, here it is. And I am going to add SQL data. From get data because we have it on Azure SQL database. I am going to use server name and database. And here we have two choices. Now I am going to select DirectQuery, which can use the full power of SQL. That here is we have a highlight of these two modes. So import mode has no limitation on data size or refresh times. And because of that, data query is more database style, no limitation, and we can directly query when the request came, although there is some cache refresh time. At the same time, there's some restriction, and the biggest one we need to be careful is once we go direct query mode, we can use just one SQL table. We cannot mix and match with other SharePoint list or something. Just one SQL table is the area we can handle.
Do you mean one database or one table?
One database. No, not one table. All table must come from the single database.
That's much better.
That's much better. Sorry about that. But should be in the same database. And there are some restriction to use DAX expression or query editors. In fact, if you have used PowerPoint, Power BI, we usually use data tab that shows the data. But once you switch to direct query mode, the data tab disappeared, and I was so shocked. And first time I wonder how can I add new column and so on. Okay, so that's the key difference between two connectivity mode. And I'd like to go back. And now I'm going to select the table, and we can select multiple table. But now I'm going to select just one view customer support summary for here.
So you're showing from scratch how to build the query, is that right?
Yes.
Or to build the report, awesome.
Yes, for today. At least for very basic part.
So they need to have the Power BI desktop installed, is that right?
Yes, that's free.
But they don't need to have the gateway set up before they create their reports. They can actually create their reports on top of their SQL data.
That's right.
And for those on-prem customers out there, we had a question from Gwen about how to set it up if you're on-prem, and you can use a gateway to do that. It's pretty simple. But for this, what you see today, the demo that Qdabra is showing how to create this, you don't need that to create the initial report because you just install the Power BI desktop tool, which is a free download, and then you can create this just like that. Okay, thanks.
Yes. So now I added a table, and I'm going to add, yes, I add doc ID. I will add doc ID and status, company name, and company name, issue submitted date, issue resolved date. Maybe that's and also assigned to. That's very basic item, I think. And also, creating Power BI is good for data cleaning and data checking. So you can see there's some, I think this is test data with no company name in our database. And after that, I'm going to add filter to select only the status is not resolved. We can see various status here, and now I would like to use a kind of multiple status using horizontal tab. So this means that if I click investigate, then I can see only investigate status, but there is some blank. I don't like this one, so I'm going to filter blank out here. And also, let me add selection control to add select all, so that we can easily select all. Then in general, I'm going to turn off the closed one. And also on this area, I add filtering on status exclude blank data, which is a kind of test data. So that's the basic one, but because doc ID is one which is weird because they just counted, so I set this as a don't summarize. Then we see the doc ID here. The only item which is mandatory to dashboard is link to the form. So I am going to add new column because we do not have data tab here. What I do is from here, I can add new column. It takes me about 10 minutes to find it out from where I can edit. So I'd say the name is link here, and I think most of you are familiar with our link for Forms Viewer or Info Path, which is a long text with doc ID something. So I am going to copy this one, which lead to our form customer support form, which is created in Forms Viewer, and this will be applied here, and I will attach. It's really easy. I can just select doc ID using command doc ID, and I'm going to paste this, the long string here. Okay, then now I am going to add a link to the table, but because this is just a long text for now, so what I should do is under modeling, I select link and set the data category as web URL. Now this is recognized as URL, but still this is long string here. So another tricky parameter to set is under value, there's a tiny setting saying URL icon, and I'm turning this on. Then we see the small URL icon. So now this is very basic dashboard, and I'm going to try to open this to verify I set the link appropriately. So this time we created fake data.
Easier to scrub before we post it to YouTube.
Right.
Sorry about that last week. It occurs to me, I just want to make a comment, it occurs to me that even if you don't publish the reports, the Power BI desktop tool is so powerful as a this kind of a investigation tool that people might want to use it completely separately from the public reports. Do you do that a lot? Do you actually use?
Sometimes. I do a lot of data analysis. Especially I use a lot on my our timesheet. When we saw some question about some company asked, well, how about this? And I can just check the company and who did what kind of job and when. So it's
That's
really powerful to have
so
a database.
It's like a tool to quickly like examine or search through the data to find something. That's great.
That's right.
I actually have one more question on the Power BI desktop. It is true that it is a free download, right?
That's
Just
right.
want to make sure.
It's
Okay.
easy. You can use anyone can use it. And just for your information, in our system, I have to VPN in to access our SQL database, and it's natural. Okay, so this is the first part. And the second part is to create the history data. So in this time, I'm going to add, excuse me, clustered bar chart here. And for this one, I am going to add another column. Let's see, new column here. This time, days to resolve. Then what I'm going to do is dateDiff. Yes, I'm going to use dateDiff command, and at the first date is issue submitted date. Second date is issue resolved date, resolution date, and give me the days. Oh. Yep. Now I'm just going to add this to the chart, and let me classify with resolved by. Who resolved this one? And I can see Joanne and Don resolved this one because we've already filtered to see only on active one now. And also, default is sum, so I'm going to set average date for this. So to see more data, I added closed one too. Then we have a lot of data here. I can see that it's too many data. And I'm going to add another slice based on issue submitted date. But because we have too many data here, I'd like to set this as now this is just a text, but once I set this date, I'm changing data type here, and format will be simple one. Then, okay, come on. I am going to have much more variety to filter, and I use between, which means that I can just use slide bar or issued date to filter it out.
Wow, it's so easy to create
So
these things.
easy. Just for fun, I can add one more data to resolve, and this time I will set the to maximum date.
It's beautiful, Qdabra.
Yeah, so it's really quick. Just within 10 minutes or 15 minutes, we can create up to here.
And so, look, quick question for those of you who are watching our webinar. If you have questions, please don't hesitate to put them in the question or the chat window, and we'll take a look at those in a minute.
So while Patrick is checking it, let me show some theme. Another one, the first tip. So because the default coloring is not so cool, and the one already set is I'm not so fan of that, and I really suggest to use or check theme galleries. They have much more selection.
Now, this is a new thing, right? This theme gallery how long has it been out there?
Well, not from the beginning, but well, at least we have few months at least. And for example, autumn would be nice for today. And the tricky thing is we have to download JSON. JSON file is the one actually act as a theme. So I downloaded this one. Then I can just apply using import theme. And this is the one. And that's it. It's so easy.
Wow, that's really cool. It's just the key thing is to remember to download the JSON file.
That's right. That's the only one item. And I think we have time to do one more tip to reset. Because after I click here and there and applying the filter, sometimes we messed up and we wonder how to return to the default setting. So I'd like to recommend you to use what is called Bookmark. And now we are going to set the initial status like I just want to see active one and the date would be certain period, and add bookmark. Bookmark number 1, rename this as the default. Then I'm going to add button as a reset button here, and in its action I set this as a bookmark as default, and that's it.
Oh, that's cool.
Then even after I click here and there or click there, then just click this in case control click for desktop. Then you can just go back
to the beginning. Yeah, and otherwise it would be too difficult to get back because you have to uncheck everything, right?
That's right.
That's very clever. Very, very clever. And it was so easy to do. It's just, you just have to know where to go.
That's right. So now this is the area you can do in desktop. And when you're going to share this with your team members, of course, I'm going to save this somewhere. Test or webinar. Oh, already exists. Okay. Webinar 2019-09. And I am going to publish to internal share. From here, you need pro account, but only one pro account would work.
So I think this is very important information, is that to create and publish these wonderful reports that you saw, the report that you saw Kauda just build, or what you're going to build, you just need to have that pro account. No one else needs to have a license. Is that right?
That's right. Just only for the person who is going to publish this. And I'm going to select this, and this will be appear in report. And I think we have here, this is the one we just created. Oh, no. View, looks like I have another one name. Webinar 2019, this one. Now, it's online. However, the next one is most important point. There are many options to share. Embed in SharePoint online, but I recommend to use publish to web. Then this will be public. So you will have a warning that everyone can see this. But using this one,
You could limit the filter in the Power BI report. If there was sensitive information, like for example, phone number, you could just not have that in the report, and then there would be no way for them to get to it, right?
that's right. But as far as that is on report, and if you publish using this mode, yes, you can see everything as far as the viewer can access this page.
But they have to have access to the page, right?
That's right.
Okay, so it's not that public.
Not so bad. It's not public, but this will be seen anyone. So now, then I'm going to go my test site.
So what you're doing right now is you're adding that link to your test site, is that right?
Right. Now, embedded, in fact, that would be better than a page. And this is modern page, webinar demo. And there is an embed web part here. So what I will do is just paste this one. And for modern page, this support about 1212 widths. And you will see here, and I'm going to publish it. Then as far as user can access this page, they can see this one. They can handle on, they can on and off.
Oh wow, so it's refreshing it automatically. So they have control over the filters and everything.
Yes.
That would make sense. That's awesome.
All right.
Very nice, very nice. It looks like we do have a question from the audience. Do you want to return to the slides? Do you have some slides that you want to summarize?
Okay. So now we had published your report, and we covered 2 tips and question time.
Great. So we have a question from Pete. If a user wants to print a specific set of filters that they set during a session, can they do that? What is the difference when published between sorry, that was the end of Pete's question, and there's another one. So once again, Cal, if the user wants to print a specific set of filters, I don't know if print is the right word. But,
print?
yeah, maybe publish is what he meant. I don't know. But let's switch to David's question, and then we can actually ask Peter again here, if that's what it means. But if we assume it's published, if a user wants to publish a specific set of filters that they set during a session, they could they do that? Can they actually statically set it?
Oh, I see. Yes. Now I understand the question. So in that time, please use this filter instead of this dynamic filtering. So, for example, I've already set the filter that do not show if status is blank. Then user cannot see
So
this anyway.
Those they can't change that is blank not, because that's not available to them. So that's
Right.
one way they can. Okay. Great.
This filter is the area that user cannot change.
Great. Okay, and then we had a question from David. Actually, we had two questions from David, and I'm just launching that question window again here. Sorry for the delay. The question from David is, what is the difference when published between the web and embedded in SharePoint site?
Yes, really good question. And there are many discussions on that. The first thing I'd like to mention is if you use embed, you need to have pro account for every viewers.
And the pro account, I forget, isn't like $20. I forget the cost. I mean, I pay it every month. I don't even know.
19 or
19, yeah,
something.
Something like that. So it is quite a bit of an increase on your 365 E3 license if you've got E3. If they're using on-prem, then this doesn't really make sense, does it? Or do they need to have Pro for on-prem when they publish it or embed it? I guess either way, right?
Well, I'm sorry, I haven't tried that by myself.
So we'll need to look into that. But in general, the difference is the cost, David. And then your second question, are you able to do a date comparison within the new column?
Date comparison in a new column? Because what?
Yes, I think you did that, didn't you? With the issued submit date. So you've got, there's the date diff. So maybe we can walk through that one more time. Do you want to show how you did that again?
Right. So now I am showing days to resolve is created using DAX directory with date, diff, and first one is issue submitted date, second parameter is resolved date, and count by day. This is.
So he would like to compare that to like a fixed, whether it was done on time. Let's say, for example, that they be resolved within 14 days, or 7 days.
7 days new column. In fact, I may need to look up some. So maybe, too long. But too long as, if logical test is date resolve, I do not remember the syntax. I'm not sure if this is true or not, but result true is, this is yes, 1 and 0 or something. I wonder this work or not. And let's see if I put yes. Nice. So too long for the submitted date 7/2 and 8/20 is too long because it's more than 78. For more than 7, and I can see 1 and 0 result here.
Can you change it to color it differently, like highlight the background?
Yes, all right. Yeah. To do that, I think we are going to add the conditional formatting on this one. So conditional formatting based on too long and background color on. How's that?
Yeah, I was thinking about the whole row, but that'll work. I guess it's just, this is great. So we had another question from Pete. If a user sets a certain set of parameters on the published web page, is the only way to preserve those settings to do a print screen, or can the parameters be exported somehow?
Parameter. Really good question. So the point is, can Power BI receive parameter, which means that URL, like something equal or something, or another parameter?
Yeah, I think that's the question. Yeah.
Well, unfortunately, we need to purchase really expensive mode, like a developer mode, to get the parameter from URL.
Right, so
And
there are some limitations.
yeah, and also I think I'm afraid we cannot publish it as an anonymous. I'm afraid.
Right, right. Yeah, this is getting back to the real reason why you can't. The one downside of the publishing it the way we did was that you can't get the username and do a filter based on who is looking at the form. It's the same idea. It's just like if you were able to pass a parameter in saying the username was so and so, then you would essentially be able to have a loophole around that limitation. So
That's
that's why
right.
Microsoft
Mhm.
doesn't allow parameters. Well, let's go back to the slides, Kato, and let's just do a quick shout out.
Yes,
So I
please.
want to, I know we're kind of at the end of our webinar. We try to keep these things short. We know you're busy and everything, but I do want to just mention briefly that if you need help with Power BI, we are one of only a couple dozen certified Power Platform partners of Microsoft. We've been in their business applications program now for almost a year. We were one of the first ones that they selected out of 11 around this time last year. It was actually in the end of September last year. They had their initial list of certified partners. And so we got the renewal several months ago. Kauto has been doing these Power BIs, these reports for lots of customers, and you can see it's very easy to do it. So we can actually spend an hour, set you up, help you put the Power BI report together, and then you're off and running. And if you have questions, of course, you can come back to us. So it really doesn't take a lot of effort to get something going. And if you need help, please don't hesitate to reach out. And I just want to talk briefly, Kauto, can you switch to the next slide?
Mm-hmm.
So, oops, sorry, thanks. So we have this product out called Forms Viewer. We're going to be renaming it, rebranding it as Qdabra Forms. We're trying to get the designer done this year. So as soon as that happens, we're going to be rebranding Forms Viewer as Qdabra Forms. But this is really your solution to move your InfoPath forms forward without having to rebuild them from scratch and recreate Power Apps or some other technology. So our goal here with Forms Viewer is to allow you this very simple upgrade to your forms that not only removes the need for InfoPath, so you don't have to worry about the sunsetting of that, but also gives you these new features. We've done a lot of webinars on it in the past. And of course, the best of all, you need to get our support. So we're helping lots and lots of customers adopt this because there is a significant cost to retooling, recreating all of your solutions in Power Apps. And we see the cost somewhere between $5,000 and $50,000 per application. If you've got a very complex application, it's going to be, can be up to $50,000 to do a very complex Power App. If you listen to Microsoft, they say, well, you can do it in a day, but that's really for these toy examples, these simple things that don't have any data source behind them, because the data source is really the challenge with Power Apps. So you don't have to do that. You can just take your forms as is, your applications, and you can just move them to Forms Viewer. It's very quick to do it. It's zero to minimal effort, and you can keep using your investment without having to rebuild it from scratch. So that's the end of the advertisement. I want to thank you all for coming today. And It's great to have you here. Please don't hesitate to come to our next webinar. We don't know what it's going to be yet. We kind of do these things sometimes a little more dynamically than we should. We should plan these things out better. But if you like today's webinar, please take a look at the survey. We've got 3 or 4 questions for you, and then we'll send out the package with the materials. And we'll also get the one sent out for last week. I don't think we've done that yet, so we'll send that out as well if you were in last week's webinar. Thank you so much for being here. Have a great day. Thanks,
Thank you
Khaled.
very
Awesome
much.
job. Way to go.